Sure. I was trained to be a modern language teacher in the UK in French and German. My undergraduate degree was Russian, French and Russian. And I moved into English language teaching as a VSO, as a voluntary teacher in southeastern Europe, where I was based in English medium schools where students study their content curriculum through English. And I was supporting the work of my content colleagues as a language teacher. I became interested specifically in using resources with a program called Science Across the World, and I used the program resources in my English lessons, and I joined their team and began writing resources with them for their network. I'm working on a couple of projects at the moment, projects that have resource writing in mind for courses for teachers who teach their subjects through English, English teachers course books with a focus on content, and of course with Macmillan the vocabulary practice series and One-Stop CLIL website. And it's a great job. Sometimes people ask me, I was in Spain just the other day and a student said to me, do you like your work? And I think I'm very lucky. It's a really good job. Well, the acronym stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning, and it describes situations where students are studying their content curriculum through the medium of a foreign language. It comes from Europe as far as I'm aware, but it's moving into the language of education in other countries as well. That's a very interesting question. My personal perspective on this, I think, is very simple. CLIL is about what you do with the language in a task where students are working through the medium of a foreign language. So if they're working in science, say, and they have to carry out an experiment, what does the teacher do to think about the language demands of the task in that science lesson? How do they support the learners if they have to speak or write doing that science activity? Yeah, it's again a little bit like thinking about the role of language within a content task. You have to predict what the outcome may be. When a student has a question, for example, what would an ideal response be? And that sounds very simple, but once you have a model, a template for the language, you can paraphrase, you can give synonym, but it's about analysing that language of the task within a content subject, and then thinking about how you can give the learners that language before they get asked the question or the task to do. And that may be that they have a handout with some phrases to help them make sentences, or it may be that the teacher acts as a model of the language by offering a lot of repetition before they do the task. There are many ways of offering that structured support. I'm specifically thinking about content and language learning. I know that's not really the question, but I find that the worst thing is English teachers sometimes don't understand where I'm coming from, what I'm talking about. They sometimes think I'm a scientist, and the same is also the case with subject teachers. So you can get stuck in the middle between these two communities of subject teachers and language teachers. The best thing about it is writing stuff that you can take straight into the classroom, and I still teach as well as train and write resources. And the stuff that I write, I use in my own lessons. And in fact, my students feed into my writing because they go on and do their content curriculum through English, and the science and geography resources I've written with my students in mind.